All right, hello everyone. So we should be, I think we're live now, doing things a little bit different because the game is, at the tail end. So we figured, hey, we'll hang out here, talk about it. This is not the podcast. This is just sort of an intro to the pod. Maybe, sort of like a warm up comic to the podcast.
This is like the early bird special. So this is like
hmm
serving our 55 and over OTS community by getting you in early to finish out this game. Then we're just going to jump right into the podcast after.
Yes. If any game, I feel like I don't know how you feel about this, Kyle. I think if any game deserves to be a tie, this one feels like a tie worthy game.
Honestly, I've checked out at least for like half hour increments of like both the first and second half. Like all of a sudden I look up and Alex Collins is like the best running back in football apparently, and
Uh-huh.
like Big Ben realized he's bad again in the second half, and that's basically where we're at now is the Steelers and Seahawks coming down to the wire in this overtime game between Big Ben and Geno Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, here, I should add a banner for I'll just do this, I guess. For this. So, uh Luke Brown said I kept my promise. I didn't watch this game. All right, so just so you
Lucky
guys know
you.
where we're at, it's 4:37 with 10 seconds left on the play clock. A play is about to be snapped at the 15-yard line. Geno Smith under center takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He's going deep. Nope,
Oh boy.
okay. Oh, he
Yeah.
fumbles the football, and that's the game. The
Geno.
Pittsburgh
Oh,
Steelers are
wait,
going to win this
did Bush
football game.
fumble? Wait, no, he didn't.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. Well,
Wow.
Geno Smith devastated. Yeah, that wasn't great, Kyle.
I'm devastated for Geno. You know what? And he actually played pretty well in the second half. I was pretty surprised that that fourth quarter drive, brought the team down, got him in field goal range, and then all of a sudden, just trying to do a little too much here. Did the whole pump fake, and T.J. Watt's going to sniff that out. So,
hmm
doing too much there, Geno. Unfortunate. Looks like Pittsburgh's going to win this now.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what's fortunate about it? My picks. I only missed one this week, and I got my lock of the week. So, assuming Pittsburgh kicks the field goal, I have a negative week here, Kyle.
You know what? I honestly think I deserve like -5 points for correctly picking a Jaguars victory. So I think that's what I should get, and I'm sticking to that.
Yeah. So also, we should thank Overlap in the chat who super chatted before we even showed up. It's at 6 in the afternoon. So thank you to Overlap if you're watching this, live or after the fact. And also, New Master 60 is about to win $10. Apparently, I guess bet $10 on the Steelers. There you go.
Get yourself something nice at Taco Bell. That'll be
All
good.
right. Big Ben with a very Big Ben play of just diving for that looked weird the way he dove for the move over. He didn't just like step over a knee. He like laid on the ground.
He looks. Yeah, I mean, he looks like an old fat guy. Like I think if I went out there and tried to play quarterback, my movements would look similar to Big Ben's. Other than I can't throw the ball 20 yards that well, but
Yeah.
Besides that, I think my movements would look pretty similar.
Yeah. Have you seen like that? There's like a Chris Sims interview with Big Ben, and he like is asking about like technique and stuff, and Ben's just like, I just throw it. Like there's like no idea. He's just like, I just throw it.
Honestly, that seems about right.
Yeah, that checks out. All right, Chris Boswell taking the field, hit the big one to tie it. Can he win it here, Kyle? Or not to tie it, but to take the lead.
Honestly, with the Seahawks, this is probably going to be a block and like return for a touchdown or something like that.
Right. I mean, I guess we'll talk about the broad strokes as we get into the podcast, but this is going to be a tough one I feel like for both teams. Neither team is a winner here.
Yeah, there's a few games that I watched today that I just came away with. You know what?
Oh, here's the kick. It is up, and it is good. Chris Boswell,
Boom.
The 3-3 Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of a maybe a bit of a half-hearted celebration there.
Yeah. He hit a chip shot, so good job by you. Obviously, Pittsburgh is now 3-3, tied with the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, Overlap. I'm in this mother bleep with my boys. We appreciate you, Overlap, very much. All right, so I'm going to play the intro, and then we'll get into the podcast. Sound good?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's find the intro, and here we go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. And I'm joined here as always. I'm getting something here. Sorry, Kyle. Brian Flores has just challenged if I had said the intro correctly. So we're gonna have to review to see. All right, here. You kill time for a second. I will go under the hood and see if I said it correctly or not.
All right, I'm ready to go. I guess I'm taking over this whole podcast. He told me he didn't tell me this bit was coming, so now I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Uh, yeah, go Dolphins, huh? What about that game? That was
All right,
exciting.
I'm back.
All right, we're back.
I'm assuming you were very entertaining in that minute I was gone. I did say it correctly. A bad challenge by Brian Flores, losing the challenge there.
Yeah, rough week for Flores and company. You know, maybe that travel did his head in a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle, how are you doing?
You know what? Football is dumb. That's how I feel after this week. Football is pretty dumb, so that's basically all I feel.
Oh no, Kyle, this is not a good start.
You know what? It was a frustrating game, but we'll obviously talk about it, and you know, it happens.
Okay, we will get into all of this. We're going to start off, as we always do, with the Sunday night game. Just a horrible game. I mean, just a terrible, awful, horrible Sunday night game that should not have been that was just not good.
No, it was really bad. It looked like the Steelers were going to blow them out in the first half, which they probably should have. And then in the second half, it's like Big Ben, as I said during the broadcast that we were doing towards the end. Big Ben realized he sucked. And he realized he sucked and started playing like he was terrible again. And all of a sudden, it's like Seahawks are slowly coming back and, made a game of the thing. Alex Collins had a big second half. Geno Smith actually made some throws all the way up until the end. And, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be good football ever again this season just because of Geno Smith at quarterback. But the Seahawks are always going to be crazy. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. It doesn't matter anything else. The Seahawks are going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'll get another super chat. Overlap 618 saying, "Hell yeah, I've been waiting for the show all day." Kyle, do you miss TB12 yet? How do you think Mac Jones has been playing? We will talk about Mac Jones when we get to the Patriots. But again, we do appreciate the super chats. At what point is it a trend with the Seattle Seahawks? Because they say 3 is a trend. They're at like 47 in a row at this point of just like completely bonkers games that the Seahawks have played in.
It's more than a trend. It's their way of life. I mean, this is basically what this team is. Now, the question is, how many of these are they going to win without having like a star quarterback under center? Because that obviously helps win some of those games. But, this is a team that battled back, made this game competitive. I do say that was probably the worst review call I've ever seen in my life. So, obviously, to set the scene, Seattle's down 3 at the end of the game. They're throwing the ball down the field. They had one play to DJ Dallas that was fumbled, and then DJ Dallas basically just recovered it. And then the next play, they go to Metcalf. Metcalf catches the ball upfield, fumbles. Freddie Swain recovers it. The clock's ticking. They spike the ball. It might have been there were zeros on the clock once the spike was completed. And then all of a sudden, they review the play. They review a play that was quite an obvious catch and fumble. All of a sudden, there's 3 seconds left on the clock for Seattle that gives them the chance to spike the ball and kick the game-time field goal. That was just an egregiously bad review call.
Well, I think in fairness, it looked like there was still a second left when the ball was snapped. So I think that kind of saves it. Because if there wasn't that second left, I think it feels a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, it could have easily been reviewed and changed there, but I would have if I were a Steelers fan, I'd much rather have that reviewed than a clear and obvious catch on the sideline that had no reason to be even looked at.
Right. That was a weird call. I agree that it seems like there needs to be just a better system they have in place there. Right. Like, I don't know what that system is, but I remember the Lions got screwed a couple years back when they had a catch that was at the 1 yard line, but it was ruled a touchdown. But then there was only 9 seconds left. And because it was a still in play, 10-second runoff, they lost that game. It seems like I don't know what the solution is, but it seems like there needs to be a better plan there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's certainly an interesting situation, but I don't know. You took away from this game thinking, are either of these teams good?
I don't think so. I think that on one hand, it's like maybe the Seahawks are good if they had Russell Wilson, but like without Russell Wilson, I'm not sure I would go that far. The bright side is we'll have plenty of time to really figure out if the Seahawks are good. Monday Night Football next week against New Orleans, we get to see them. And in a few weeks, which I believe is still when Russell Wilson should be out, they play Monday Night Football against the Washington football team. So we're going to get to see a lot of primetime Seattle this season. They even have another primetime game later on in the year. So we'll get plenty of opportunities to find out.
Can't wait. Can't wait to watch this team even more.
Yes. Yeah. And as for the Steelers, I mean, this is not a promising win. Going, against Seattle at home without Russell Wilson and eking out a victory. Granted, I'm not sure if there will be too many promising wins for Pittsburgh, but this was you got out of there with a win. Maybe something to build off of, but this is not. You're going to have to play a lot better if you really do want to have a chance this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I guess the good news is you say you're 3-3, so you're tied with Cleveland in a competitive division where you basically just need wins to keep up. I don't know how good this team's going to be. I agree. I don't think it's going to be very good. It still feels like the fourth place team in the AFC North, but at least you got that win to kind of give you some momentum here. I don't know. Like, that second half just feels more Steelers to me than what the first half was. They look pretty good in the first half. I'll give them credit for that, but at the same time, the second half, everything fell apart offensively, and they realized they couldn't throw a forward pass again. I'm just not sure that's what this team's going to be ever again.
Yeah, and part of why it looked good in the first half. I mean, the game started with 5 straight punts, so just kind of a sloppy game. Want to just move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, all right. Let's get off of it. You know what? Let's go there. Let's talk your team. We already touched on it a bit. Cowboys, Patriots. How did you feel about this one, Kyle?
I was very upset. I was not happy for many hours after this game. I watched this game and I felt like, I think that the problem is that the Patriots I think, not just right now, but for many years are going to be compared to a team that won basically to a level that's unfair and unapproachable, which was a team that made 9 Super Bowl appearances in 20 years. And I think it's just time we stop comparing this team to the levels of what it was in the past, because it's never hitting those levels again. And it's like, I watch these games that I see them every week, and I watch these games and I say okay, Patriots teams of the past right now would be 5-1 or 6-0 because they do these little things that make them the best team in football. This team no longer does the little things that make it the best team in football. It doesn't cover well right now. It doesn't, they won the penalty margin in this one, but they're still bad penalties. And then you look at the situations that had killed them. It's like they had a holding call back a touchdown. The very next play, the right tackle gets blown off the line of scrimmage, strip sack, Dallas ball. Another play right after it. Later in the game, there's a play that I maybe have seen this motion set where they motion Damian Harris out to the right by himself, maybe twice in the last year total. And they run this play with 2:30 left in the game. There's miscommunication everywhere. No one knows where they're supposed to be lined up. There's a delay game call that moves them back to an obvious passing situation. The very next play, Trevon Diggs gets an interception that's returned for a touchdown. And it's like, it's constantly setting yourself up for failure with these situations. And that's why they're losing these games. It's not losing this game. They're competitive in all these games. So there's a spin where you could say, oh, moral victory. You're really competitive against really good teams, but you're losing these games because you're making such obvious mistakes that the Patriots have never made in the past.
Yeah, so got the great overlap 618 saying $10 to help Kyle's tears after today's loss. Yes, that's very good. So Fire Ice 39 had a good comment here that I kind of agreed with when watching this game. Of Patriots got pretty lucky the entire game. Dak was in on third down. You could argue the touchdown should have been overturned on fourth down. Even if you don't feel that, there's at least an element of flukiness to that. The Cowboys had 567 yards in this game to the Patriots 335. Now, the yards per play was actually a lot closer, but again, a good chunk of that was on that 75-yard touchdown at the end there. To me, Dallas was clearly the better team in this one. Also, you talk about penalties, but Dallas ended up with 12 penalties to the Patriots 5. So again, that's a skill. That's not all luck, but there is still an element of flukiness there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dallas played well. I thought the offense was awesome. CeeDee Lamb is an absolute terror to go against. He's always open. He made huge plays in this game. Obviously, had the game-winning touchdown too. So, I mean, yeah, Dallas was a better team, but there's still situations in the past where I've watched the Patriots and said, hey, they've beaten teams that look superior because they're smarter than everybody else. And you're watching this game, and there's a game between Mike McCarthy and Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick doesn't absolutely outcoach him like in dominant
Mhm.
fashion, And Mike McCarthy was just Mike McCarthy was awful in this game. Like he just did so many dumb things in this game, and he's getting bailed out constantly for being the dumbest person in the NFL. Like he's literally the biggest idiot I've ever met sometimes when I watch these games.
What
And
did he
he's
do? What was it?
so there's multiple situations. There was one late in the first half where there is like 52 seconds left. He doesn't call the timeout to at least make the Patriots punt the ball and see what happens. He waits
Mhm.
until there's 8 seconds left to use his timeout, burns it. And then on their fourth quarter drive where they have a chance to win the game, he's sitting there with 2 timeouts as they're going up the field. Every play is in bounds, doesn't use any of those timeouts. And then they get a holding call and an unsportsmanlike conduct call that moves them back 15 yards. That sets up like a 3rd and 25. They get 24 yards on the 3rd and 25, and he calls the timeout with like 30 seconds left just to kick the
Right.
field goal rather than
Mhm.
letting the clock run down to basically 0 to kick the field goal. And
Mhm.
I don't understand some of these situations that he's in. It's very odd. It's very
Yeah.
weird.
It's really funny because Mike McCarthy probably would be in like the coach of the year conversation if like he just would stop getting in his own way with these game management decisions. If someone else ran game management, because he's actually done like a decent, like the Dallas coaching staff is, X's and O's wise been pretty good, and they've certainly overperformed. Uh, but he just can't stay out of his way with these game management decisions. And again, how much of that is him? How much of that is his staff? I don't know. So first, I have a couple questions. One is the super chat. Kyle, do you win this game with TB12? Does he make this team that much better? I'm going to kind of piggyback off that. I'm looking at the numbers here. The Patriots ran the ball more than they threw the ball. They had over 10
Mhm.
yards per attempt throwing the football. Let Matt cook a little bit, right? Like, why not push down? I
Yes.
know the running game worked, but so did the passing game. Why not throw the ball a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is because multiple situations here where they didn't let the ball go downfield on plays. They had 3rd and short situations. They didn't want to throw the ball. They ran and got stopped. They didn't want to go for it on the ensuing fourth down plays and constantly punted the ball. And it's like, hey, you're playing the Dallas Cowboys, who might be the best offense in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go for it on fourth down at least once. They didn't do it one time, and it makes no sense. I guess to answer the question, I mean, yeah, Tom Brady probably wins this game, but Tom Brady is a top 3 quarterback in football. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not asking Mac Jones to be a top 3 quarterback in football his rookie year, but there's just it seems like that there's an unwillingness to try and put him in a like situation to succeed. And he was very good in this game. I thought he made good throws. The interception throw seemed bad. It was a bad throw. It was a little high and outside, so it was a bad throw. That gets picked off. Trayvon Diggs, of course, is 5 yards off the play, but gets the pick and gets the touchdown. So
Mm-hmm.
Trayvon Diggs is awesome. But he immediately bounced back and goes right at him and gets the touchdown. So I mean, it was probably on the safety more than Diggs, but still Diggs is in the vicinity, so it's
I mean,
funnier to talk about it that way.
Diggs gave up a 20-yard completion that ended up being a touchdown because the safety misplayed it.
Yes. Yeah. So at the same time, yeah, it was just there was just a bunch of craziness to this game, but I did not think the Patriots were well coached in this game. I did not think they had a good game planning strategy. I didn't think that they were aggressive enough against the Dallas defense that I think still, the Dallas defense gets a ton of turnovers and has a bunch of big plays, but they still give up a lot of chunk plays too. This team isn't like perfect on defense. They give up big plays on it, and we didn't go at them enough. And so just a frustrating game overall.
Yeah, Zachary Stewart says, I don't know. The Patriots' decision to punt on 4th and 3 in overtime was pretty bad, in my opinion. Yeah, kind of like, again, uh, if you're going to be this team that maybe doesn't have the talent but can still be competitive, you have to be like really perfectly coached, and they haven't been that so far. Kind of just further proof that Tom Brady was the real hero behind the dynasty the whole
Oh,
time.
jeez. Yeah. Well, the thing is that the offense is not a big play offense. They had the 75-yard touchdown. They're not a big play offense, and the defense is basically playing this no gigantic play sort of style. They're not giving
Hmm.
up like a 60-yard touchdown. When you play this style, I mean, it works, but there's almost no margin for error. And if you're not going to take any chances on top of it, there's literally no margin for error. So I think I looked up at the fourth down decision bot, and like almost all of their fourth down situations had at least a plus 2% win expectancy if they went for it, and they didn't
Hmm.
go for a single one of it. So uh, frustrating, but like you said, Dallas is a better team, but this is just another game you watch, and it's like, man, New England could have stole it, and they didn't. And it just seems like that they're not a very good football team who stays competitive.
Yes. Overlap 618. That's it. I've seen enough. Jackson and Kyle for president 2024. I guess we're both going to be co-presidents. I like
Co-president,
this. Yes.
we'll get nothing done.
Well, we'd get nothing done if we were individual presidents either.
Yeah, that's true.
In fairness, most presidents get nothing done. So I think this checks out.
Yeah, I guess I could be about as useful as William Taft. I can get stuck in a bathtub.
Okay, yeah, there you go. All right. All right. Let's move on. Speaking of stuck in a bathtub, let's talk about the Mammals losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kyle, you went out on a limb and picked the Jaguars in our Pick'em show. You nailed it. Congratulations. You must feel very proud.
I guess. Okay, so I'll start it off. I'm gonna throw you on the spot with this one. So, question off
All
the
right.
bat: was this the best rookie performance of the season?
Uh, it didn't stand out to me as the best rookie performance of the season. So I'd probably say no. I think that Lawrence was really good. I believe it was last week. I think Zach Wilson had that one great game. Even you could argue Davis Mills had a good game. But I mean, Lawrence was very good. Lawrence was good, and Tua was actually good in this one. Other than one interception that looked like more of a miscommunication, I thought, than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just looked like it was two bad defenses, but two offenses that were good enough to take advantage of it enough, but it wasn't like, they didn't blow the doors off, but it just looked like two bad defenses out there, didn't it?
I don't know if I would say that the Jaguars or the Dolphins had a bad defense necessarily. Jaguars, yes. Luke Brown in the chat with the super chat. Tua time, fire, flow, down bad. Yeah, poor Luke Brown here in this. I don't know. I think that I don't think I actually thought that everyone's criticizing Flores. In my opinion, Flores' X's and O's in this game, the way he coached the defense, was the only reason this team had a chance. I thought. I think that with a mediocre coach, this team loses badly to the Jaguars. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, especially when those corners are out, there just doesn't look like there's any talent on this team. Jalen Waddle put in a good game in this one, and he's obviously explosive, but there's just not a whole lot of this team to really get excited about. The offensive line's still really bad. The everything about this game just seems kind of poor. And yeah, I mean, I just think overall, there's not really a lot to be excited about with the Mammals. Uh-oh. Looks like we got Jackson frozen again. Did the internet die? Let's see. Give him a couple more seconds to see if he comes back. Otherwise, I'm going to have to fly solo. All right. And it looks like Jackson's internet. Oh, is he back?
No, am I back? Are we good? Okay.
All right, we're back.
Okay. I think we're good. Yeah, a classic AT&T. Again, worst company in existence.
Yeah, I went to Spectrum. Works out.
Yes, I miss being able to choose which internet provider I could pick. Okay, we're back. Where were we?
I just basically said without those corners, the Dolphins have no talent, and that's what kind of hurt them.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, and kudos to Jacksonville. We have to give them credit. Now, 1-game winning streak. They're on.
Yeah.
They're on the winning path. And
Not
hey,
satisfied with 1-5.
Yeah, and then when this team moves to London in a couple of years, Urban Meyer's undefeated outside of America. So there's that.
yeah, there you go. That's a good stat. Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, it's one of those wins you hope you can build off of, right? For Jacksonville, I mean, that we all thought that first kick was going wide, and all of a sudden it hooks back in. It was a very bizarre game tying field goal from Jacksonville, and I also thought that the going for the slant there to pick up a few more yards for the game-winning field goal, very, very clever by Jacksonville.
Yeah, clever. Hey, it got it done, though. They got the win. Matthew Wright, UCF, with the big kicks to get the Jaguars the win.
There you go.
I mean, I think the interesting thing, at least, I think when I was, saying, hey, I'm kind of excited to watch Jacksonville this year, I kind of envisioned the offense looking a little bit like this. And you saw a little bit of that in this game. I think Lawrence looks a lot more comfortable in that game. So maybe, like you said, this is something to build off of, but that's kind of what I wanted out of Jacksonville was this team that could throw the ball downfield, have James Robinson in the backfield. They have a lot of guys they can go towards. Marvin Jones with a big game in this one.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to how about let's do in the other overtime game. Why don't we go with the Vikings Panthers? And this was, I mean, the Panthers absolutely did not deserve this game by any stretch of the imagination, and they still almost pulled it off. This is one of the all time like fluky things kept going Carolina's away. I mean, I don't know how many games I've seen where one team has 6.8 yards per play, the other has 4.5 yards per play, and it goes to overtime. But that's what happened here.
Uh, yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold just hasn't been the same since Dan Arnold left, right? That's what everybody's saying.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah, this Panthers offense. I mean, there's a lot of things. I think we can now cool down with the Sam Darnold is back conversation. You know, he obviously isn't back. He wasn't very good in this game. I think a little bit's unfair because, another part of this game too that, when we did our NFC South preview, we a lot of the conversations were this Panthers receiver group is top 5. It did not look like a top 5 receiver group today. A lot of drops
Hmm.
on their part. DJ Moore had a lot of drops. Robbie Anderson had a couple drops. So I thought they were really bad in this game, and then Darnold also didn't help by not being at his best either. There were some big plays toward the end, but then, this is just not a very good offense when McCaffrey's not on the field.
Yeah, no, I mean the offense was horrible. And by the way, you're saying well we can be done with the Sam Darnold is a really good quarterback stuff. We can't. The Sam Darnold truthers are a real thing. I gotta say, Kyle, it's completely baffling to me. I don't understand the Sam Darnold truthers. I get if you're of the mindset of like, hey, he's shown some potential to at least be like a game manager type. It's kind of a low risk, high reward type guy, but. If there's still the people that if you criticize Sam Darnold, it's like criticizing Patrick Mahomes or something.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got to defend your guy till the death. I mean, that
Hmm.
17 for 41 stat line is something to really back up. He runs the
Hmm.
ball well. He continued to run the ball
Yeah.
well in this game over 4 carries. So, I want to go to the other side for a bit
Well,
because
let's hang out. Let's stay with Sam Darnold for a second because I want to talk about it for a second. Because my thought on Darnold was I didn't think he was bad in this game necessarily. Certainly not as bad as the numbers would show. He had just over 5 yards per attempt, and like up until that final drive, he was at like 3.5 yards per attempt throughout that entire stuff. So I thought the drops were a very real thing with Sam Darnold. But like I still stand by. I think the best thing about Sam Darnold is his running ability. Like I think that's like legitimately what you have to do to make him effective. I don't know if you run the ball 8 times a game with him or what, but I think that has to be a part of the offense because I just don't know what else he's giving you that Teddy Bridgewater didn't. If that's not a big aspect of his game.
yeah, and he had that huge run in the fourth quarter too that really gave you a chance. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I do think he is talented in that regard. He is very mobile, and I think he can make throws, but he needs to have a guy like McCaffrey in the backfield to look decent, I think. And having that and being able to use his running game effectively, I think is a huge one up for him and a huge advantage. And we're starting to see it with him and Daniel Jones this season up until basically this week. When you're using that quarterback consistently in the running game, it kind of can make mediocre to below average quarterbacks look pretty good because it's hard to defend the run and the pass at the same time.
Yeah, we do have this. I think a fair point. Hey, he led a game-tying drive from his own 2 yard line. He didn't have two good drives at the end there. Now that's all he had, but he had two good drives.
Yeah, he did. And Minnesota's defense, like what do you like that last drive from the 2 yard line? They had 4th and 10 from the 2.
Hmm.
Like, how are you not stopping that? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of counter that a little bit by just saying that, hey, look at what they did the entire game, right? I mean, you see 28 points, but 7 of those were a blocked punt. Another touchdown was directly set up due to a turnover. So it's like, yeah, they had a bad drive, but they dominated the Panthers' offense for most of this game.
Yeah. I would yeah, that's fair. They did a pretty good job. It just seemed like it was a very weird situation that like they're going to prevent defense when they need 10 yards from their own 2 yard line. They're not going for a 98-yard touchdown pass. I don't think that's in the playbook. So, I don't know. It was just a really tough situation I thought for Minnesota overall, but they did get the win, but they just continue to show me that even though I like pieces on this team, I'm never going to trust them.
Yeah. Can I say something that's going to sound insane?
Go for it.
Are the Vikings too Kirk Cousins dependent? Like Cousins won them this game. Like
Yeah.
Cousins legitimately was the reason that the Vikings won this game.
Um, yeah, I mean, he
Um,
was really good in this game. So I mean, they have him. They have great receivers, and Kirk Cousins has had a really good year for them. We've been on this for a while now. I think that he's been really good. So I think it's been a really interesting season, but they just don't throw it enough. They continue to run the
Mhm.
ball like crazy. They continue to, try and set it up. And I think the thing that's so frustrating is when they have really creative play calls, like they had one that was like a play action rollout to the right. They had, I think, Thielen cutting back to the left for like a big gain. And it's just like, oh, that's fun. That's actually cool to see. And then they'll run that like once a game and then never go back to it again.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is very fun. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys Vikings. That should be a good game. I think this is a big moment for the Vikings if they want to prove they're legit. Win on prime time, and we all know prime time Kirk Cousins is the best Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and then as Ugnep 2000 said, their schedule is brutal, so they got to start beating some of these good teams. So, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's go to maybe one of the surprises of tonight. Let's go to, or I guess this afternoon, the Ravens. How about those Ravens? Kind of a statement when beating the Chargers 34-6. What was your thoughts on this one?
I was not prepared for the Ravens defense to respond like it did and really beat up the
Uh-huh.
Chargers offense. Like they really got after them in this game. And the pass rush I thought was phenomenal. It seemed like they were hitting Justin Herbert all the time. They got after him, they forced him into mistakes. And yeah, I mean, this is really one of the first few games that we said, hey, Justin Herbert did not have it. He was not really a big part of this game at all. And they kind of just took it from them right away.
So I thought of something here. Is this the scheme that we can say gives Herbert trouble? The man coverage, single safety, blitz a lot type of scheme. And so I went back and I did some research on this. The Patriots game, famously last year, where they lost 45-0, similar scheme. And that's a lot of what they did was they generate pressure through twist and through surprising the offensive line, and they were able to shut them down. Also against Miami last year, Herbert didn't have as good of a game as he's had he had a below average game for him. The one exception is Tampa Bay, who also runs a similar scheme. He torched, so it's not perfect, but his numbers do go down a little bit when blitzed. It's not heavy, but it does happen. It's not like you start running the scheme and he's going to suck, but is this maybe the way to attack Justin Herbert now? We've seen teams start to have a little bit of success blitzing Herbert, which seems counterintuitive, which with how good he is under pressure, but so far, that's been the most successful way to attack him.
Yeah, and I guess the interesting thing will be how he evolves going forward because as we're seeing more and more now throughout the league, and I think I saw someone on the Ringer did a really long piece on it for Patrick Mahomes. Basically, with these elite quarterbacks, they're basically blitzing little to none at all. And Mahomes is the prime example where basically
Hmm.
it's basically a 3 or 4 man rush and then everyone's dropping in coverage. So I'm wondering if this is just him being young and figuring out the league. That as he grows more accustomed to it, he's going to get more comfortable and he'll be better against the blitz. Or like you said, is this just something he's going to struggle with his whole career? I'm kind of leaning towards the former for now, but maybe for this year and until he starts to learn and figure it out, this is the way teams are going to go after him for now.
Yeah, Christian Hernandez in the chat says, I noticed more teams going for it on fourth downs. Yep, I've noticed that as well, and I think it's good. I'm co-sign, all for it. Going back to this, though, and here's kind of my second point about the Chargers, which is kind of concerning me. You asked me in the previous show, am I willing to call the Chargers Super Bowl contenders yet? And I said not yet. And now I'm very much in that boat because on the flip side, the Ravens offense really out-schemed the Chargers defense. Now they were able to run the ball effectively, which we expected, but they were even able to scheme up some stuff down the field, which we've seen teams now do against
Mhm.
these quarters coverage teams a decent amount. Once the Cardinals did it to the Rams, we've seen this happen. The Ravens did it to the Broncos. Like it's starting to become a thing a little bit. The Steelers did it to the Broncos. The Raiders did it to the Broncos. Broncos are having a hard time. But back to the Chargers. I guess my concern is there's a clear and obvious way now, in my opinion, to attack both the Chargers offense and the Chargers defense. Is that concerning at all to you?
Yes, because I
Hmm.
think the other thing too, when you talk about the Chargers defense, is I kind of joked about it in I think it was a couple weeks ago when we talked about the Browns preview game. Does Brandon Staley need to alter a little? Because he doesn't have Aaron Donald anymore, and basically
Mhm.
teams are just going to run for 6 yards to carry against this team. And it's okay to say, "Hey, it's a passing league. We don't want to give up the big play," but you're also giving up a bunch of big plays by letting them run the ball all over you. So
Mhm.
it seems like they might need to just, even if it's just a couple plays a game here and there, it seems like they need to alter something, because while it is a passing league and that's what teams do, you're just not going to be able to go through a playoff format or even make the playoffs or potentially if you're just going to give up 200 yards a game rushing the football.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that you don't have to change your base scheme, but start doing different stuff. Be a little bit more creative with this. Don't show the same thing play after play after play, because not only can teams run the ball against you, but teams know they can run the ball against you, and then teams can also scheme up some other stuff down the field because they know what coverage is coming. Be a little bit more creative with your coverages, is all. I like the idea of trying to play quarters coverage and cover two as much as you can, but the issue that I have is just I don't think that they're. I think that you just need to be a little more creative with it.
Yeah, I think the defense is more concerning for me than the offense, because obviously there's less talent on the defense. So if you don't change it up, teams are just going to keep doing the same thing against you. I think at least with the Chargers offense, you can say, hey, sometimes teams are going to run this coverage or this man-to-man blitz scheme, and our receivers are good enough to win outside. They just didn't win outside this week, so it's going to be okay.
Yeah. The flip side, hey, maybe the Ravens are good.
Yeah, I mean, the defense finally put it together this game. It looked like they were struggling a little bit, and this wasn't the best Lamar game of the season, but it was good
Hmm.
enough. I mean, I thought he was fine. He when they had to throw the ball, he was usually pretty good throwing the ball. And yeah, good one for the Ravens. They're 5-1.
Yeah, and what's crazy too is I think a lot of this stuff too. Like Lamar didn't even do that much. Like a lot of the running game, he was just handing the ball off and like wasn't even pretending like he was going to run with the football. I thought he did everything he was asked of. He just wasn't asked to do a lot in this one. So Ravens trying to show that they're real contenders.
And they look it too, because not only are they winning football games, they're beating good teams in the process. So, you know, they they're legit. I think they're legit. I think that this AFC North race is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to um let's see. Decent amount of well, we'll be honest. It was not the best week I thought, Kyle, especially the early
No.
window was a tough one. The late window was very fun. But let's go. How about Cardinals Browns? Another game with serious implications. I think the main story here is Baker Mayfield. And I guess my thought is, okay, if Mayfield is like Mayfield wasn't good in this one, and Mayfield's clearly hurt. My thing is, if Mayfield's too injured that this is how he's going to play, then he shouldn't be playing. And if he's not too injured that it's affecting his play, well, then you have to get rid of him because this is not good enough. Because like this isn't good, and I think that if these two quarterbacks flipped, I think maybe the Browns win this game, which is crazy to say given the score. But it was that big of a difference. Mayfield wasn't great in this one.
Yeah, and it looked like, we were both on the Browns earlier because it's like, the matchup seemed to lead towards the Browns.
Hmm.
And then everything that happened with the Cardinals camp heading into this game. I know they didn't have Nick Chubb, but you still have Kareem Hunt, who's very good. Uh, all the matchup stuff, Cliff Kingsbury being out, all this kind of stuff that we were looking at. It's like, oh, the Browns should win this. And they just come out and get jumped. It really is like they come
Hmm.
out and get jumped in this game, and there really was just no recovering. They played a little better down the stretch, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, if this just looked like a team, like, I don't know, like this team right now this week did not look like a Super Bowl contender. Not even close. The coverage was all over the place and seemed like a mess at times. They didn't have explosive plays offensively like we were waiting for, and it just seemed like they were a bit of a mess this week.
Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, they actually outgained the Cardinals on yards per play. Again, despite all of this, I thought that their coverage had its bad moments for sure, but I thought it had its good moments as well. I think part of it was like, Mayfield threw an interception early that kind of put them in a bad situation. They also lost two fumbles in this game. So you have those three turnovers. That's going to make the game look a little bit more different. And I also felt like, again, I'm kind of sticking with the Mayfield thing. Took a lot of sacks that he shouldn't have taken. This was, to me, I think that a better, if Mayfield played tonight like he played the sort of towards the end of last season, I think the Browns are competitive in this game.
It's possible. I definitely think it's possible, but I guess the question is that ever going to be Baker Mayfield consistently? That I don't know. And obviously, he seems to be dealing with this shoulder injury. I guess the question is,
Mhm.
do you think Case Keenum's actually good enough to like be better than that? And I don't really think he is either.
Well, so here's my one of my main points. Early on in this game, I believe it might have been 7-0. It might have been like I don't know. It was something. It might have been 14-0. I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember. But it was a 3rd down and 5 in Arizona territory. This is still games well within reach. And Mayfield has an open Odell Beckham Jr., elects not to throw it, instead tries to scramble out, eventually throws a ball that they get a yard. On a 4th down now, they go for it. Again, Odell Beckham Jr. wide open. He elects not to do that, holds on to the ball, and takes a sack. My point is, Case Keenum at least throws the ball. I think Mayfield's in his head at this point. I don't think he doesn't trust himself. He threw the ball 67 yards for a touchdown at that Hail Mary, which kind of kept Cleveland in it sort of towards the end of the first half. But like my point is, a lot of Mayfield's issues at this point aren't even like physical. It's like he's in his own head. It's like he doesn't trust himself. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, it was kind of saying it last week too. It's like Odell Beckham could have had like 3 touchdowns last week, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
another game. Like he's the best receiver that's never thrown the football. It seems like sometimes, and he had 8 targets in this game, and it felt like, well, he should have had like 4 or 5 more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
no, I agree. And I think that again, it's just tough. I mean, I guess I'll go here. This is a thought I had of we killed the Bears for selecting Mitchell Trubisky over Mahomes. We've been killing the Dolphins for selecting Tua over Herbert. Um, should we? I'm just if the Browns had Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, and I know you can't fully do this and it's not fair. If they had that, one of those teams, they're 6-0 right now.
probably. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, how does that all work out, especially with the leap we've
Sure.
seen Josh Allen make and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But uh, I think that, yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to have to up his game. I think that you're right on with this. He's going to have to up his game if the Browns want to be taken seriously. Because for all the jokes we make about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're tied with that team at the bottom of their division. And this is a team that we thought might win the division by a mile. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case right now.
Yeah, I think a couple of good chats. Dan DeMeek says usually win yards per play when you complete a Hail Mary. I think that's a very fair point. Yeah, that should be factored in. Josh Hoffman here's an interesting topic of discussion. I don't think there's any argument for getting rid of Mayfield. The Browns are poisoned, and he survived and made them competitive. If they get rid of him, it'll be 0-17 again. I don't know if I agree with that. But what's interesting about this whole situation, right, is that this is the ultimate dilemma of do you pay the quarterback who's good but not great? Everyone agrees, okay, yeah, pay Mahomes, pay Josh Allen. Do you pay Mayfield? Well, they're already paying him $18 million a year. But like another thought I had is if they, $18 million for next year because of the 5th-year option. But like another thought I had is like, wouldn't this be an awesome Aaron Rodgers team? Like, wouldn't that just like fit perfectly?
It would be if he's
Mm-hmm.
willing to go there. I mean, that's the biggest question is that the tough thing with this situation too is they've built this Super Bowl roster. So they need if
Mm-hmm.
it's not Mayfield, they need somebody basically who could come in and lead a Super Bowl winning team because this team's ready to win now. And I don't really know what the solution is unless they get a guy like Rodgers and convince him to get traded there. And I don't even know if that's going to be possible.
Yeah. Someone in chat telling us let's give the Cards some credit too. We're getting there. We're getting there. Yes. Arizona, very good. Best team
Yeah.
in football right now.
Yeah, and we keep asking questions about this team and they keep answering them. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
every week we're like, can they do this? And then they go out and do it. Can they do this? And then they go out and do it. It was like, can they stop the run? They did a pretty good job of stopping the run in this game. I know Hunt's yards per carry was pretty good, but still, no like big explosive plays, which is usually typical with the Browns offense. Although I think they were missing some offensive linemen. Um, you know, can you win without, Chandler Jones? Oh, yeah, we can have a good defensive game without Chandler Jones. Kyler Murray has a big game. I'm not really taking anything away from, them winning without Cliff Kingsbury. It's kind of funny, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, still, they look really good. They're the real deal. They look like they're about at the top of the NFC right now, and I think they're among the elite category.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like maybe where I'm sitting, I didn't even think the Cardinals had their best day. I think they've played better this season than they played today, and they still blew out a team that many people feel is the championship contenders. That kind of shows where they're at.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that they've proven to me they can win in almost any different way. That they have
Mhm,
basically, I think the biggest question I had about this team heading into the season was how was the back seven of this defense looking, the linebackers and secondary, and I think
mhm.
they've been absolutely awesome this season.
It's been like
I,
their strength.
yeah, I know, and
Mhm.
their defensive line is J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones, and it's not their strength. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I think it's been really good. They've been able to cover. They have a good defensive line. They have playmakers. They obviously have Kyler Murray, who's amazing, and their offensive line's decent too. So there's not a whole lot of weakness to this team.
yeah. Completely agree. Again, I want to talk about the Mayfield thing. I think that's the more interest. I did think that's the more interesting topic of discussion than Cardinals were good again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So
Hmm.
it is interesting to see. I mean, we're obviously going to monitor this Browns thing, but a lot of
Hmm.
questions need to start having until they start winning games.
Yeah, and congratulations to Cardinals on a 7-0 record after beating the Houston Texans next week.
Don't count out Davis Mills, man.
that neck could intimidate. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk the Raiders. This was a very interesting game. One I wasn't sure exactly how it was gonna go. The Raiders ended up blowing out the Denver Broncos. Really, I mean, the Broncos had a great fourth quarter to make the score look a lot closer. Raiders still win 34-24. Derek Carr was incredible. He's not, everyone talks about don't blitz Mahomes. You can't blitz Derek Carr either. The Broncos tried a couple of times and got burned. Derek Carr, another guy who his numbers go way up when he's blitzed. Which is again interesting because he's not the guy you typically think about. It's like, oh, he'll scramble out and make a play, but a lot of being effective against the blitz, you're just getting rid of the ball quickly, which he does so well.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing this more and more. As we were kind of talking about with the Herbert thing, it's like we hardly see guys blitz Mahomes anymore. We hardly see people blitz Brady anymore, and we hardly see guys blitz Allen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to become the point where we have to stop blitzing Derek Carr too? Is he basically just going to put himself in that category because he keeps having these monster games? They showed a stat where it's like he's the first Raiders quarterback or the only Raiders quarterback besides 2002 Rich Gannon who won an MVP to have these sort of passing numbers, and he just keeps putting up these big games. It's just like I don't, it was amazing to see. I got stuck picking this game, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have to pick the Broncos just because I don't know what's going on, the play calling and all this. And then
Mm-hmm.
before the game, I hear all this stuff about how Derek Carr is bringing this locker room together and all this
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff, and I'm like, well, there goes that pick. Um,
Yeah.
they looked really good in this game. The play calling I thought was really good. They ran the ball effectively. They did exactly what I said they kind of had to do to win this game, which was hit the big shots. They hit an early one to Henry Ruggs, and it was like, okay, they're hitting the ground running. They're good.
Yeah, you brought up Rich Gannon. I wanted to talk about maybe some parallels with that, right? Of famously, John Gruden, after the 2001 season, got traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, won a Super Bowl in 2002, but the Raiders actually had a really good year and went to the Super Bowl themselves. Rich Gannon won MVP that year in a John Gruden scheme where John Gruden was not the play caller. People have now sort of brought up that maybe John Gruden really good at creating a scheme, maybe not the best play caller. If you can get sort of a good play caller to run the John Gruden offense, could this actually be a benefit to Derek Carr?
Apparently, well, it
Mm-hmm.
looked good this week at least. But
Uh-huh.
I think the other part of this too. I mean, I want to give full credit to the Raiders because they look. This was a good bounce back win. I thought they looked really impressive in this game. We didn't even talk about the defense yet, which the defense was outstanding in this one. Max
Mm-hmm.
Crosby, for all the talk about all these defensive player of the year candidates, Max Crosby has to be in that conversation too. The guy's been
Uh-huh.
unreal this year. He's been one of the best defensive players I've seen, and he had another 3 sacks in this game. So really good performance from him. Trayvon Murray was really good at the back too in the safety spot. Just a lot of really good plays I thought overall from this Raiders defense. But I think the other side of this that we're seeing is that the Broncos aren't a good football team.
Right. Yeah.
They're not good. And this scoreline doesn't do it justice. This team is bad. This team is not good at all. And yeah, I mean that's just kind of how I feel about watching them now. They're not good.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the old like John McKay thing of like, it's what was it like, well, we didn't block but we made up for it by not tackling. Like it feels like that's very much the Broncos mindset at this point of like they're not playing offense well, but they're making up for it by not covering well either.
Yeah, it's just really like I don't know. This team has all the looks of like a team that was like this is like when Northern Illinois would go like 12-0 in the regular season for college football, and then they'd get to a BCS bowl game and then lose by like 40. And you're like, oh wait, that's why this team was undefeated. It's because they played nobody. All their teams that the Broncos have beat have like one win. And then now that they've played teams with more than one win, they're just getting obliterated. So this team, yeah, I mean, I just think that they really struggled. They struggle in coverage, which makes no sense because the secondary is good. They gave up
Hmm.
more big plays in this one. I just don't think it's a good football team. I think Vic Fangio's on his way out.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Vic Fangio has to go. It's like, okay, when you're considered the X's and O's guy who maybe isn't the best, team leader, and now all of a sudden, like your X's and O's are making a good secondary look bad. Like, okay, like you got to get someone else in there.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's gone before the end of the season at this rate.
Yeah, I think I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to how about Packers and Bears? Aaron Rodgers, the owner of the Chicago Bears, as you said, and we kind of called this happening too, like this game being weirdly competitive, just for Rodgers to rip out the hearts of the Bears at the end. That's
Yeah,
which is kind of what happened. I want to let you give your thoughts on this. My headphone battery is low, so I need to grab my second pair of headphones just in case that dies. So you go ahead.
yeah. Just going back watching this game a little bit, I just kind of looked at it and said, like, yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. Aaron Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears. That's what he does. He owns this team. He went out and made plays when he had to. I thought there were some wacky things with this game, but Rodgers at the end comes up and makes the big play, gets the touchdown to win. I didn't think the Bears offense was very good in this game. It wasn't quite the Cleveland Browns game bad, but they basically scored early in this game and then did nothing for the rest of it until the very end. They got another touchdown. I just didn't think it was a very good offensive performance for the Bears. Um, Not on Justin Fields, just didn't really seem like they could move the ball or do a whole lot against this defense.
Yeah. Hey, Khalil Herbert was good.
Yeah, good game for him. Third running back coming in and making some plays.
So, here, one second. My Google Home is thinking that I'm talking to. Never mind, Google. I'm going to unplug it. Give me a second.
All right, so we're back to just me. Yeah, I mean, Khalil Herbert looked
I'm
pretty
back.
good in this game, so you had that going for you. But yeah, I mean, this Bears offense just looked uninspired again, right?
The Bears offense. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah. This is not a. It's not a great offense. I thought the Bears defense actually looked pretty good. Like, I think that's
Yeah,
the upside here is that hey, your defense played well. Which again, the Bears have been the same team for like since for 100 years now at this point.
honestly, it probably is. Yeah, I mean that's true. But yeah, I mean, this defense is going to keep it in a lot of games. And I came to this realization as I continue to hate watch the Bears. Is my team the Bears of the AFC?
Interesting. Well, I mean, you have about five more Super Bowls than them.
Well, this year's team is the Patriots the Bears of the AFC.
Um, Interesting. I can definitely see the result. I think the Bears probably have a better defense, although I think the Patriots are certainly better coached. I think that Matt Nagy or Bill Belichick. I give the slight edge to Belichick there.
Yeah, that's fair. I just feel
Mhm.
like I
There's
hate watch
similarities.
I hate watch this Bears team all the time because it's so
Mhm.
like uninspiring to watch. And then I
Uh-huh.
watch my team and just get frustrated but can't explain it. And I'm like, oh wait, this is basically the Bears. I'm basically watching a Bears game right now and just getting frustrated with it. So
Here's the difference. Here's the difference. There's something enjoyable about seeing the Patriots suck. Like as a neutral fan, like that's an enjoyable experience. And as my podcast co-host being a Patriots fan, of course I want them to be good for you. But I'd be lying if I said that there isn't a part of I think every fan base that doesn't enjoy seeing the Patriots suck a little.
yeah, I'm certainly not enjoying it. So, but I
Right.
get it. I get it. It's
31 of
okay.
32 fan bases.
Yeah. So at least the Red Sox are going to win the World Series.
Okay, we'll see. You got to get past Atlanta. Yeah. Flip side, Rodgers again, kind of a weird game. Only threw the ball 23 times, but looked good in it. The Packers played a good defense well, and he owns them. What did you think of the actual quote itself that he owns? I think you got to kind of feel like at this point, like he's earned it. It's like Brady saying he owns the Bills. If he said that, it's like yeah.
Yeah, what are the Bears' comeback here?
Mhm.
Like, what is the one Bears game against Aaron Rodgers that you can go to and say, "Oh yeah, well, what about this?"
The Brett Favre one. There was like the Brett Favre retirement shirt, or like he came, like inducted into Ring of Honor. This is like that's like the one time they got him.
Well, I guess they have that going for them. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
mean, they kind of just have to kind of sit there and take it. There's no comeback for them. There really isn't. They don't have the championships to back it up. They don't beat Aaron Rodgers, and this is exactly what we said in the picks. They're not going to beat Aaron Rodgers this week. So, uh, yeah, I mean, this is a good Bears defense, but there's just a different tier towards the top of the AFC North that the Packers are on their own. The Bears just aren't at that level, and I don't think they're going to be at that level for quite a few years. But it seems like Aaron Rodgers is having the most impressive season this year, right?
Um, Interesting. I mean, I kind of see what you're saying. I mean,
It
it's
seems like
funny because there still was that week one like horrible performance, right? And he's yet to have one of those like classic Aaron Rodgers like 5 touchdown. I guess he did throw for 4 touchdowns and no interceptions against Detroit, but he still only had like 255 yards in that game. It was kind of weird. They got to a slow start. Like he's still yet to have that game where he just like completely goes off. But I mean, I guess I see what you mean.
yeah, it just seems like every week he's like really good, but he ends up with like 199 yards and a touchdown. And it's just like,
Mhm.
okay, the guy I saw looked a lot better than that, but they're just, it just seems like they're going through the motions right now.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know about going through, but a lot of 2 touchdowns, no interceptions games. It seems for Rodgers. In fact, he's currently got 3 2 touchdown, no picks games, and 1 2 touchdown, 1 pick game. So that's kind of been his mo.
Eh, Hey, I mean, it's working, so can't
Yeah.
really complain
Sure.
about it. I think the good thing is that the defense is looking pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
they continue to look impressive. They were good in this game too.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Why don't let's stick with the division. Let's go with the Bengals Lions. And the main reason I wanted to talk about this one now, whereas typically this would be a prime candidate for the last one to talk about, is Kyle. Did you see they played it on Red Zone? The Dan Campbell comments about Jared Goff in the press conference.
I didn't see them, but I saw them on Twitter afterwards.
Okay, here. Well, I'm going to play it for the audience. So let me play this, and then we'll give our thoughts on this.
I don't feel like we can accurately judge him one way or another. I don't feel that way yet. Now, I will say this. I feel like he needs to step up more than he has. And I think he needs to help us, just like everybody else. And I think he's going to need to put a little bit of weight on his shoulders here, and it's time to step up, make some throws, and do some things.
Yeah. So Dan Campbell, not happy with the Goff man. That's not a nickname people call him. What do you think of these comments, Kyle? Your guy, Dan. Are you on the I hate Jared Goff train now? After your guy, also clearly not happy with Jared Goff.
Listen, I listen to Dan Campbell, and I just love him even more. This is the
Uh-huh.
perfect way to motivate his quarterback. Listen, you can watch I know his team's not very good around him, but you
Hmm.
can watch this guy the last few weeks. He is playing for his job. He's playing for his NFL career. Does he look like he's actually playing for his NFL career right now? He
I
looks
mean,
like a
I think
guy
he kind
who's
of always
content
looks
with
that way.
I don't know. He looks like a guy who's pretty content with being below average to bad to me. He doesn't look like he's going to be in the league much longer if he keeps playing like this. I mean, he's not very good. I think we overreacted a little bit to the early season start where he had some good games, but at the same time, or good numbers, not necessarily good games. This looks like exactly why Sean McVay wanted to get rid of him, though.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, my stance on all this for like Dan Campbell is like, Yeah, you have Jared Goff. Like he is not a playmaker. He is not a carry the team on his shoulders type guy. You had that guy in Matt Stafford. And I get the whole, Dan Campbell wasn't the guy who made that trade. It happened like a week after he got there. So I get it. Maybe it's a motivational tactic and all of that stuff. The way I see this is a big, bright, hey, Jared Goff's the reason we suck. It's not me. It's blame the quarterback. Don't blame the head coach here. That's the way I took it.
It could be. But, at the same time, it's who else is he going to go out on this team? It's not like this team's dripping with talent. What's he going to go at DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson? They're the only people who actually score on this team. Like, there's really nobody else to go at.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, we should talk about Goff and just how he's played. He hasn't been good. And a big element of that, it can never be understated. Receiving cores make teams better. Like, that's a big way. And every quarterback looks worse when they have a poor receiving core. That being said, he's also missed some throws that guys were open. There's been plays that have been schemed up that he hasn't been able to come through on. So he's not playing well on top of the horrible situation he's getting put into. There's no doubt. I mean, the two leading receivers in this game were TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift. So there you go. Like, Jared Goff deserves like criticism. And I don't really hate Campbell like criticizing him too much. I think that's fair, but also there is an element of like, I remember when Sean McVay did this stuff, he got crucified for it. And now Dan Campbell does it and everyone loves him.
Yeah, I guess here's my question though. And it's not just as me as a Dan Campbell supporter, just in general. Like, at the end of the day, you watch this team. What is any coach going to do with this team? And I guess you could say the same thing to Goff. And why do you say it at the press conference? What is any quarterback going to do with this team? Obviously, this team, he's just trying. It feels like he's just trying to motivate this team, because I would say it hasn't been great quarterback play or coaching, but at the same time, there's not a whole lot of people who go into there's probably no quarterbacks in the world or coaches in the world who go into this team and succeed.
Well, I agree. I don't think I think that the talent level is a very real thing, and it's a real concern. And I don't blame Dan Campbell at all for this, the way this season has gone. I guess my thing is, I don't like the idea that Jared Goff is getting scapegoated as the only issue here. I think that there's a lot of real big issues, and I think that the idea that they get a new quarterback and things are different. I think that is. I think they need to get a new quarterback. But I think that's I think get rid of Jared Goff, sure. Although, got to keep him next year. It's a $30 million dead cap if you cut him. So they're probably going to keep him next year. But you got to get a new quarterback. There's also a lot of issues with this Lions team.
Yeah, I mean, you need a new quarterback. You need about 18 new starters, too. So,
right.
I mean, there's a long way to go for Detroit.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's what let's to shift a little bit. Hey, Dan, how did you feel about Kyle's picks in the most recent Pick'em show?
I feel like he needs to step up more than he has.
Yeah, I think Dan Campbell calling you out a little bit, Kyle.
I'm sorry, Dan. I'm trying my best here. Hey,
so the Bengals.
I was
about to say, so the Bengals also played in this game. We should talk about them for a second. Hey, I mean, for Cincinnati, they were the team that were getting blown out, and people were talking about who's the real issue between the head coach, the quarterback, or the rest of the team a few years ago. Well, now, we all know the problem is Zach Taylor, but they're 4-2. Things are going good for Cincinnati. Yeah,
I mean, I guess the one source of optimism for the Lions is say, hey, we can be that in the next 3 or 4 years.
There you go.
Just, building blocks. But, good stuff from the Bengals. I think they look good. The offense is rolling. I mean, this is what you want to see from this team, at least, right? If this team wants to be a playoff team, I think we both said this in the preview show. They need to go into this game and kind of blow this team out. And they did.
Yeah, I think that's literally my words were, hey, you want to be a contender, blow them out, win by double digits. Well, they won by 23. So they exceeded expectations. Are the Bengals legit? Are they a playoff team?
I'm interested. I'm not going off of their game against the Lions to say they're a playoff team.
Right.
But, I mean, if I were to look at the top 7 teams in the AFC right now, I would probably have them in.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is this is the first game they played where second game they played where it hasn't been close. Like they beat the Steelers by 14, but then they had an overtime game against the Vikings, they lost to the Bears by 3, but there was the weird 3 straight interceptions by Burrow. Then there was the craziness in the Packers overtime game last week. Baltimore next week, to me, that's a real test. Even if they lose that game, if they just like hang with Baltimore, similar to like how Cleveland did last year, where we're like, okay, they're legit, even though they lost to Baltimore. That should be a fun game.
Yeah, I think it will be a fun game. I want to see how this offense performs against that team. And I guess I should repreface my thing. I think they're a top 7 team in the AFC, but unfortunately, an AFC South team has to make the playoffs. So,
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Let's move on. So we got 4 games left. We have the Buccaneers, Eagles, Rams, Giants, Texans, Colts, and Chiefs, Balls. Let's go with how about Buccaneers, Eagles? It was the closest of this. It ends up being a 1-score game. Kyle, you locked up the Buccaneers -7. Paired with me locking up the Dallas Cowboys -4. 2 bad things going your way with the Patriots failing to cover due to an overtime touchdown, and now the Buccaneers failing to cover due to a 2-point conversion touchdown in the 4th.
yeah, I was very frustrated with this. I'm not gonna lie. First of all, I couldn't watch this game because I was watching a thrilling 54-41 high school football game.
Okay.
But I'm looking at my phone and it's like, oh, $28.7. Okay, I don't need to check in on this game later. Then all of a sudden the Bucks don't cover. And not only am I losing the lock, I'm losing money off of this game. And I'm like, how does this team not cover this? Like, what is going on? You'll have to explain to me what exactly happened here. Did they fall asleep for the second half?
Yeah, it felt very like a fell asleep. I feel like usually when people say a team fell asleep at the wheel, it's usually just like there's actually like schematic things that happen and people just say that. This felt like they fell asleep at the wheel type moment for them. The offense was just rolling like through the first 3 quarters, and then they just kind of stopped, and the Eagles got a couple of long drives for touchdowns. I think that you mentioned like Jalen Hurts was not good in this game. Like that's my biggest takeaway, and his numbers back that up. 115 yards on 26 attempts. So he threw the ball, just didn't get much going. And this is a bad secondary that he was throwing against. Guys were open and he was missing them. He showed some flashes, but as a whole, this was not good quarterback play from Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so I saw the stat here. I'll read this off word for word. Basically, it says in games against the Falcons, Chiefs, Cowboys, Hurts has completed 69% of his passes. Very nice. 7 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. Against the 49ers and Panthers, he's completed 53% of his passes with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. At least you can make a little bit of an excuse for the 49ers and Panthers. There's not really an excuse for this defense, right?
You could, I guess if you're one of those, the trenches are what matters. The front 7, that's what caused it. But I am not one of those people. And again, the entire secondary was out. Richard Sherman now went down. So the guys we were bringing in off the streets as replacements are now getting injured as well. Although, they did have at least like Jamel Dean was back in there, did have an interception in this game as well. But there's no Levante David. Yeah, this is a game that you should have. I guess they still scored 22, but kind of a bit misleading. They should have had more than 213 total yards in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've said this a few times on here, and I'm going to say it again. I like Jalen Hurts, and I think he's going to be a good quarterback in this league. And I still say the sample size says he's good, but you can't have him do everything, right? Like, this is his 10th start of his NFL career, and it seems like every play is designed for him. They don't run the ball with their running backs anymore. Their running backs had 9 touches in this game. They basically ask him to run the ball and throw the ball virtually every play. Like, you have to change things, right? You can't just keep asking Jalen Hurts to be a Superman and then like be upset when he doesn't come through.
Well, I think if they try to rely on the rest of this team, then they lose football games. Like, I think that's just the reality of where this team is at.
That's fair. I still think Miles Sanders is a pretty good football player, but he doesn't have the offensive line in front of him, which hurts too. But yeah, it just seems like a weird situation that's going on in Philadelphia. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's a very good team. But so did you hear the news that we're probably going to have to cancel next Sunday's show?
I didn't. Not. Why is this?
Because we're going to be starting for the Tampa Bay secondary next week. So
okay.
You better get in shape this week. That's what we got going for us.
I don't know how much I like doing, going out there for like 60 snaps or so. I don't know if I can do this, Kyle. I've been drinking too much recently.
Well, Tampa's relying on us. You want another Super Bowl, you're gonna have to earn it.
Okay. So what's the strategy here? I think definitely play very far off the line, right?
Yeah.
Can't get burned deep. Or do I just play aggressive? Just
I'm
hope
gonna
that
pull a Travis Kelsey. Who am I playing this next week?
what's that? Oh, right, the job. So we're playing Chicago. Oh, playing the Bears. We're fine. Oh, we won't be able to cover. We can cover the Chicago. As long as we're not covering Allen Robinson or Darnell Mooney. Hey, we got this.
Yeah, we'll probably have a double on Robinson. Like you and I together, we'll still lose.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we would.
Yeah.
Okay. Good one, Kyle, but don't quit your day job. That's $5 from overlap. Making sure, hey, he just wants you to keep podcasting. Although that's also not your day job.
Elite podcaster, below, very below average cornerback in the NFL. So that's probably fair.
Yeah, and hey, the week after we play the Saints, maybe Winston we could get an interception.
I'm hoping so. I'm ready. I'm working on my ball skills.
Yeah, I think I'll try to get away with a lot of pass interference. I think that's my plan.
Just hold every play.
Yeah, just at least a lot of plays. They'll hopefully see the help over top of both of us in this one. All right. Yeah, as a whole, though, Buccaneers are good. I think once they're healthy, they'll be a lot better. Offense was rolling. They did kind of fall asleep at the wheel there, but I'm not concerned in the slightest. Would like to see the secondary get healthy, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the big thing because I think that's going to be the biggest question mark for this team going to the playoffs is they kind of need that. But yeah, like you said, overall good game. OJ Howard, pretty good numbers. That's nice.
Yeah. Hey, OJ Howard sighting. He's going to finally live up to that pre-draft hype after all. Yeah. All right.
All this time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Late bloomer. Okay, let's move on. 3 games left, 3 blowouts left. I guess we'll go Rams Giants just because that's the next one that was on my list. So the Giants were not good in this one. Daniel Jones turned the ball over as much as he possibly could. He was having a lot of fun turning the ball over. He looked like old Danny Dimes last in this game, which kind of makes sense because he kind of had old Danny Dimes team out there with the all the injuries to the receiving core. They kept feeding Kadarius Toney. He then went down with an injury. The Rams are very good. The Giants are very bad. More news at 11.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams looked like they knew how to attack a bad football team, and this is a bad football team, especially on defense. I think that was the disappointing thing, though, is that I was kind of excited to see Kadarius Toney go up against secondary. I spent a lot of money in my fantasy budget on him in the free agent pool, and then he immediately goes down hurt in the first quarter. And I was just like, well, that kind of stinks. And he had a good first quarter up until he got hurt, too, which is even more annoying. So hopefully he's back soon because I was excited for that matchup. But, I mean, there's just not a lot to be really excited about the Giants right now. Bad football team, especially, when it's Devontae Booker, there's not really something to look forward to. And I thought Daniel Jones looked like a guy who was basically knocked out last week and then somehow passed concussion protocol.
Right. Danny Dimes ends up with over 50 attempts and a sub 5 yards per attempt game. Never good when that happens. Still waiting for the fabled 300-yard game in the Blaine Gabbert zone. I was seeing the chat. There was a scoregami in this one. First time ever at 38-11 has been completed in an NFL game. And that's probably the most exciting part about this game.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the 6-1 final. That's the scoregami I'm waiting for.
That's the crown jewel of scoregami, I believe, as John Boys referred to it as, the creator of scoregami, of course. Yeah, I mean, Stafford looks awesome. Stafford's a legit MVP candidate, and we talk about, situation matters. You look at the difference between Stafford and Jared Goff going to new scenarios. This is why you trade 2 first-round picks for Stafford. Get the upgrade at quarterback if you can get it, and that's what they did. And I think, they're feeling a lot better than if they had Jared Goff right now.
Yeah, I would be too if I were, a fan of the Rams. So obviously that really helps. And I'm sure Matthew Stafford feels a lot better about the situation.
Yeah. Scott B says Stafford had a no-look pass touchdown. That was nuts. What's hilarious to me is that the meme for the longest time was that if Stafford played anywhere other than Detroit, he'd be getting so much attention for this throw or that throw. And now that's legitimately happening. Like it's legitimately a true thing that he's getting way more attention now that he's in LA, even though he's the same player.
Yeah, the conversation that he's actually just average and that's why the Lions were bad. Absurd, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's I never understood the quarterback wins matter so much for a quarterback. It's a dumb argument.
Yeah. So not a whole lot to take away from this game. Rams did what they had to do. I thought they looked really good, like you said.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. We still got two games to talk about. Let's talk Chiefs balls. I guess this one, a little bit interesting because of the Patrick Mahomes of it all. He turned the ball over twice, although one of them was a tipped pass. The other one was a very Jameis Winston like play where I think he was trying to throw the ball away, maybe. What happened was it was a 3rd and 1. It was a designed handoff, but the snap got fumbled. He picks it up and just throws it basically, while he's getting hit, just goes straight up in the air, intercepted. So there was a lot of, has the league figured out Patrick Mahomes? Is Patrick Mahomes not as good as we thought he was? He would then go on to throw for just shy of 400 yards and completely torch the Washington football team secondary in the second half. But it was a fun moment on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, this Chiefs offense is basically just built to get off the bus and score 30, basically. Like, that's why last week's was so jarring. And even when they're not at their best, like they have been basically the season, they're still basically getting 30 points a game. So they do it again this week, despite some bad plays. Like you said, that throw looked like, I don't know if you ever played the game Flyers Up as a kid, where a bunch
No.
of the other kids stand on the other side of the field and you throw the ball straight up in the air and you yell like 100 points and whoever
Okay.
catches it gets
I've
100
played that.
points.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that ball looked like a Flyers up throw and
Hmm.
it fell right to the Washington football player. But yeah, I mean, even with the bad throws and all that, 397, 2 tutties. So not too worried about Patrick Mahomes overall.
Yeah, not bad for a bad day. We always we just called it 500. We weren't maybe as creative. Or I heard jackpot was also a name. Never Flyers Up.
Yeah, I don't know why we called it that. That's just always what we called it. I don't know, but anyway,
All right. One of those things.
classic.
Yeah, I mean, I
Featured in
guess.
next year's Squid Games.
Yeah, there you go. I think speaking of Squid Game, Taylor Heineke would have died if he was there because this wasn't a great performance from really the entire Washington Balls team as a whole against the a not very good defense.
Yeah, he struggled. And
Hmm.
this is basically, we were saying any quarterback can get on this defense and torch them. He did not torch them at all. He did the opposite
Hmm.
of torching. So once again, we're proving that Taylor Heineke probably isn't a franchise quarterback, and Washington does not have the answer there. They don't really have much of an answer anywhere. It seems like right now, even the running game, I thought yards per carry was good in this game, but still like no big plays out of the running game, which this team, it just seemed like it bleed big plays. And the defense couldn't cover again despite the turnovers. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of done with this team, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been done. Like I think after week 2, I've written off the Washington football team, and like even if their record's been decent, and I'm still like, they're dead.
Yeah. Kill the balls. No more balls.
Oh no, deflated balls. Connor O'Carroll says, "What's the opposite of what's the opposite of torching? I guess like freezing,
Dousing?
dousing. Maybe that's good. Yeah, he doused the Kansas City Chiefs defense in this one.
Yeah. Just
That
seems like he got
doesn't
it like
work.
a hose and just sprayed them or something. Like a fire
Yeah,
hose. I don't know. I don't know.
it
He
was.
put
Should we talk about the weirdness with the Deshaun Taylor of it all in this one?
if you want. I mean, as someone with no like horse in the race, I thought it was a little funny. And then
Yeah.
everyone got upset about it, and I was like, yeah, I kind of get why they're upset. It seemed very weird that it seemed very weird to decide in the middle of the week, hey, we're retiring Sean Taylor's number this weekend. Buy your tickets.
Yeah, it definitely felt like hey, this stuff about Bruce Allen came out, with the John Gruden stuff. Let's try to have a positive story. And then they completely bungled the whole thing. Like, it's like Dan Snyder was like in a hoodie during like the like photo introduction thing of it. Like, it was a very like half-hearted stuff. Let's just be honest. And as a Tampa Bay Rays fan, I definitely have it in my head where I can separate like the front office and the players from the owner. Like Dan Snyder is just a horrible owner, like a horrible person.
Yeah.
Like the team, I have a lot of respect for like Ron Rivera and all these people, and that are like the football side of it, but the organization itself totally sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Dan Snyder is not a popular figure there. And then I think the other thing too is like I think they're like struggling to sell tickets too. Like I remember last year I actually was in Virginia for a weekend and the Patriots happened to be in DC and I could have got tickets for like $20. And it's like
Mhm.
I don't think that they're selling seats either. So I think there's just a whole litany of reasons why they decided to do this. It just seemed really odd at the last second. Hey, by the way, our one of our most popular former players, his jersey's being retired now.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of that too is again being a Tampa Bay Rays fan. I can kind of relate to this a little bit. Like I know people like in the like my brother, who you're friends with, like he would never like buy tickets from the actual. He would always go on like StubHub or like SeatGeek or wherever. He'd always go on like a third party site to buy tickets because like he didn't want to support the team because he didn't want to support the owner. So like that's a real thing as well. One more thing, the Jackson Mahomes dancing on Sean's number. That was another weird thing. We should just I feel like I should talk about this a little bit just to clear up a little bit of confusion. Apparently, so Jackson Mahomes, who is Patrick Mahomes' brother, promise we'll get back to football in just another minute. But he apparently like did a TikTok on Sean Taylor's number. It later came out that he was instructed to stand there during that was like the VIP of the like people. So I don't know why they did it on Sean Taylor's number. Also, he should probably still have the awareness to not dance and do a TikTok on the number, regardless of whether he was told to stand there or not. Just a very bizarre situation all the way around.
Ah, I got nothing for you on that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I mean it's a
Okay.
weird.
We can move on.
He's an interesting guy. I don't know. It's a very weird situation. I think that I think that's one thing I will say as someone who's been a road fan his entire life.
hmm
I've always felt like there's an etiquette to being a road fan. Like your
hmm
team has a good play, you get up and you cheer and you sit back down and kind of mind your business. And I just feel like that's no longer a thing. And I don't want to sound like the old man yelling at the cloud, but at the
hmm
same time, like I just think that like I think that I think that there just needs to be a little bit of etiquette. I feel like needs to be played.
Yeah, or just like in general, like even like forget like the road fans, just like okay, like I don't know. I agree. I think it's very there's the obnoxious fan, not a huge fan of.
Yeah, but all right, let's
Mhm.
get back to the game of the week. Um,
Yes, everyone's there's some people in the comments becoming a drama podcast. LOL. Listen, we're over an hour. It's 1:22 on the East Coast. We have all we have left is the Texans Colts to talk about. I figure we could spend a couple minutes on Jackson Mahomes. Sue me. Texans Colts. Oh my God, what an incredible game of this century. Houston Texans thought they were going to come back, end up falling just short, 31-3 here.
um, I looked at this game for like a couple minutes,
Uh-huh.
and then I was like, I can't remember a single thing that happened from this game, and I'm just scrambling, and I'm like, and I look at the box score again, and I'm like, why did Jonathan Taylor not touch the ball 20 times in this? Why is he not getting carries still? They're up 30 points, and he's still not getting carries. I don't
Mhm.
understand this. I don't understand this whole Frank Reich is anti Jonathan Taylor after building his offense around Jonathan Taylor. Um, it seemed very odd to me, but I guess the good thing you could take away from the Colts is Carson Wentz. I don't think it looks great all the time, but the numbers are pretty good.
Yeah, I thought Wentz was good. He had a couple of deep shots. He only threw the ball 20 times in this one. And again, you say Jonathan Taylor, like you look at his numbers, he had 145 yards on 14 carries. So Wentz over 10 yards per attempt, Jonathan Taylor over 10 yards per carry. So there you go. I mean, this was kind of just complete domination from the Colts on both sides of the football. They had 8.1 yards per play. The Texans had 4.8 yards per play. Texans, not good.
Yeah, they're not good. I guess what Mark Ingram was the only guy who had a pretty decent game in this one, and Brandon Cooks again.
hmm
But yeah, I mean, it just
Poor Brandon
overall,
Cooks.
yeah, no kidding. Uh,
hmm
just not a whole lot to look forward to. Not a whole lot to look forward to with this Texans team. That was expected.
Yeah. But hey, Davis Mills beat up the New England Patriots secondary.
He had that one game. That's true. So I'm throwing you on the spot here again. I love doing
Okay.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, who are you betting on to have the number one pick in the NFL draft?
The Lions.
The Lions.
I see Lions over time. I think that once Tyrod Taylor comes, I believe Tyrod. Oh no, isn't yeah? Tyrod Taylor has been. They've done the. He's still the starter. I think he'll come back and win them like a couple games. They'll win 3. Lions will win 1 or 2.
Not a little dolphin sleeper buzz.
Ooh, interesting. I think Brian Flores is. I mean, the Dolphins won 5 games of a team way less talented than this. I think Brian Flores is too good for them to be the worst team, especially when. Or no, the Dolphins do have their pick, right? Yeah, the Dolphins had their pick, but
Yeah.
never mind. But yeah, I think, and again, their secondary when healthy with Brian Flores, that's too good to go like 2-17, which is probably what you need to do this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And that's probably right because then the Lions will get a couple players that they need. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad football teams right now. I feel like is my point. Looking at the Texans, the Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Lions, the Falcons too didn't play this week. The Jets didn't play this week. So a lot of bad football.
Yeah. Well, that's a great note to end it on. Yeah, listen, a lot of good football too. This was an entertaining podcast. If you want to listen to the audio only feed, that will be available. I'm going to edit out the intro part of this one because probably wouldn't make much sense listening to the audio only version of that. So definitely, check that out if you're someone who likes to just listen to your podcast. We will be back 9 o'clock. Or do you want to do 9 o'clock? Because I know that the Red Sox game might be during then.
Yeah, we can power through it. I'll just have it on mute. That's fine.
Okay, cool. So we will be back 9 o'clock Wednesday for our weekly pick'em show as I look to extend my lead. Kyle, things are going good. I mean, I'm looking at right now. I believe this is on the sideline history, the first ever negative week where I've lost the point. Maybe it happened last year. I don't remember. But I went from 17 to 16. You have gone from 17 to 21, and you still have the Bills Titans game tomorrow.
Yeah, I just got to get the Bills right. I'm still waiting for my protest to come back on the -5 for the Jacksonville pick. I feel like there is a chance. We'll see what happens with that one. But there's still plenty of season left. I'll bounce back.
Yes. All right. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's at Jackson Kruger on Twitter. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin on Twitter. And make sure to, of course, to follow the account page that's at On the Sideline JK on Twitter, at On the Sideline JK.
Yeah, and also write your angry emails to AT&T for all these delays in the podcast. All right. Thanks to everyone for watching. We do really appreciate it, or listening. And of course, as always, have a good one.
Peace.